Welcome to this week's Monday Match Points. We got the full group with us today. I'm going to dive right in just with a couple reminders, both for coaches and for officials. Officials, today is the last day to apply to work the postseason in terms of sub-districts, districts, and state. So if you have not applied for the postseason yet, make sure you do so before midnight when the calendar turns over to the 7th. If you have any questions about how to do that, feel free to shoot me an email. Be happy to try to walk you through some of that. We want to make sure we get anybody that wants to work in the postseason to at least apply for it. And then coaches, I just want to remind you as well, we're getting towards the back half of the season here. This is a good opportunity to just remind all coaches to be vigilant about reporting your scores as we get closer to conference tournament time and seeding time for sub-districts and districts. We want to make sure that the wild card program is as up to date as possible when teams are trying to seed their weekly tournaments, specifically their conference tournaments that are coming up. So I'd ask that you take a little extra time and attention to make sure that all of your match scores are being submitted on the day of the contest that you're playing them. In addition to that, for those of you that play out of state competition, if you need to have those win-loss records for your out-of-state opponents updated, email those to me. I can usually get those updated within 12 to 24 hours. Especially if I know that there's a tournament that's waiting to be seeded based on that information getting entered. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Ken.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Hey, I've traveled quite a bit of the state in this last week or so and saw a lot of great officiating, and good job to you guys, and really appreciate you guys working. Some things I've just observed and just want to remind all the officials all across the state is, we're kind of getting into the meat of the season where we get into records really do matter in conference, and we'll soon be in sub-districts and districts. And so maybe we're just going to encourage you to really up our game as officials. And so one of the things I want to talk about is make sure you're communicating. This is during play. Make sure you R1 to you R2 are communicating. And I know a number of you are wearing headsets, which is great. A number of you are not, but still the visual communication is really, really important. You R1s, you have to give time for that R2. When the R1, you blow the whistle, give time for the R2 to get to the correct side of the net. And you R2s, make sure you get further away from the standard so you give a crisp, clear signal when you signal loss of rally. So just be aware of your pace, but if you visually communicate, then you'll see where your R2 or where your partner is, because it really is important that the R2 be able to mirror the R1. And this, again, Craig alluded to it last week, but this volleyball manual, this blue book, is full of great information on how to work that and make that work. And you'll see that it says visually see each other every time. So we really want to emphasize that. Emphasize that we're a team. So we're R1, we're not an R1 and an R2. We are the set of officials, and the two of us together, make that work. So you R2s, make sure you take that extra half step or step away from the standard for your signaling position, and your officiating position then is that step back in closer to the pole, not on the pole, but closer to it. Just to brush up, as we go forward, let's just up our game and just be that much better too. And again, thanks for your work, and I'm going to send it off to Kim.
Ken, I guess I would like to piggyback on what Ken had said. And again, just communicating, but also pre-matching. I know in the high schools, we don't have assigned line judges, but we have line judges that the schools normally hire. So pre-matching with them is an important component, making sure, letting them know what your expectations are, where the signals are. Sometimes they hold them, not real high, make sure that they are high, or, hold it up high so you can see. Let them know if you are R1 that you're going to be having eye contact with them to make sure that they're in position and ready to go. So officials, when you're starting the match, before you start, you check your line judges to make sure they're in. Give them eye contact, give them a little nod, so that you know that they're ready to go. That also engages them, helps them be a part of your team as R1, R2, and the line judges. And even after timeouts, you make sure that they're in position before you beckon for serve. So, having that pre-match with your line judges matches. It's just another important component and a great communication piece to make your match run smoothly. So with that, I think Craig's going to talk a little more about pre-match. I'll kick it over to Craig.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah. So one of the things that I think that maybe we don't do as well as we probably should is our pre-match with our partner we're going to work with. And I think what I call it control the controllables, because each of us referee a little bit different. And so one of the things that I always like to do, like, for example, some people use headsets, some do not. So one of the things you may want to pre-match is, okay, with the headsets, what information are you going to give to me? Are you going to give it to me when it's a fault? Or it's just kind of the stuff like that I think is really important, is that you as the partners, you in R1 and R2, and especially now as we go into conference tournaments and districts and stuff, where you may be working with people you've never worked with all year. And so one of the other things I would like to say about when you pre-match with your partner is don't force something on the other person that they haven't done all year. Don't make them change something just because you require this. This is where we have to be flexible with each other and say, you know what? I do it this way. And as the other partner that you're working with, you just accept that. But you're a team. And I think that's what's important about what Kim said, and Kim and everyone that we talk about is you work as a team. You either succeed or you fail as a team. And so make sure that each part of your team is involved in the game. And of course, you want to have fun doing it too. And I think that's important, is having fun. So that's all I have.
Thanks, everybody. One last thing before we go today, and it just came to mind as we were talking about this. For those of you that watch this video series that are interested in being a line judge, specifically at the state tournament, if you are a registered official, I would ask that you apply to work the postseason and mark that in the comments section or in the conflict area where you have the ability to type out some information. If you're watching this and you are not an NSA registered official, but you're someone that works lines throughout the year and you would like to be considered to work lines at the state tournament, I would ask that you email me so that I have that information. So with that, appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate Craig and Kim and Ken and their time, and we will see you next week.